Before we get into UFC Vegas 66 results, we got to talk about one fighter on the main card that had a monumental win in his career. A fighter of Jamaican descent, a Caribbean brother. I got to give a shout out to Randy Rudeboy Brown. Randy Rudeboy Brown is my fighter spotlight of the week, baby. And deservedly so. Deservedly so. Let's talk about Randy. Can't get no more freak, Randy. Randy trains at a Budokan Martial Arts Academy. He's been training there since 2010 until now. Also, he trains at Marquez MMA since 2021. A little dual action. A lot of fighters doing that these days, as you can see with the Machado Gary and a lot of camps like that. Seems to be helpful. Sharpen tools both ways, getting lots of eyes on your game. Can't hurt. He trains out of Queens, New York. Shout out to New York, baby. Shout out to Long Island. Shout out to New York. Shout out to Queens. Shout out to Brooklyn. Fuck the city. But yeah, Randy Brown goes by the nickname Rudeboy. He's American and Jamaican. We'll get into that. He's 34 years of age, born July 8th, 1990. He's 6'3" at welterweight. Tall as fuck. Yeah. 78-inch reach. This man's only 5 inches shorter than John Jones on his reach. Switch stance fighter. Helps him a lot, especially with landing his kicks. He's 20-6 with 8 KOs, 5 submissions, and he's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Nardu Debra. He aims to make a run at welterweight and is cracking that top 15, baby. Is he top 15 already? I feel like he should be. He's been around for so goddamn long. Man, he's not top 15 yet. We need to get him a top 15 fight next. We have to. Randy Brown, with a win like that, you deserve a top 15 opponent. Let's stop fighting these fringe guys. It's your time to shine, baby. It's your time to shine. Now let's talk about Randy. Randy was born in Springfield, Massachusetts, to Jamaican parents, but he moved to Spanish Town, Jamaica. So if you were confused, you're like, wait, he's Jamaican. Why'd you say he's American? That's why. He moved back to Jamaica as a toddler with his mother because she was deported. Okay. So this man knows struggle and finding his way back to where he needs to be. So don't forget about that, because that's a theme in Randy Brown's career throughout. His father is serving a triple life sentence and has been incarcerated for most of Randy's life. We're not going to get into what Randy's dad did because this is about Randy. Randy moved back to the U.S. at the age of 16 and attended Jamaica High School. Funny, right? Wait, what? New York? Yeah. Jamaica Queens. Yeah. Spanish Town, Jamaica. Jamaica Queens. 2 different Jamaicas. He's double Jamaican, okay? Double Jamaican. All right, don't fuck with Randy. He started boxing in 2005 before transitioning into martial arts at the age of 19. Had 6 amateur fights before turning pro in 2014. This man turned pro when I graduated college. That's crazy. Brown has a son, and he fights for his family as one of his driving forces. He began his professional fighting career in 2014, making his professional debut at Ring of Combat. Ring of Combat, we've known many fighters, many great fighters that we know, former champions that have come from Ring of Combat. Brown has 6 fights in the promotion, winning all by stoppage in the first or second round. And those were the last fights that he needed before going to the UFC. As you know, Randy Brown was discovered on Dana White's Looking for a Fight. He knocked out Robert Plotkin at Ring of Combat 53, and then he was signed to the UFC shortly thereafter. These were the best episodes of Looking for a Fight, by the way. I missed that series by Dana White. It used to be on UFC Fight Pass, UFC.tv, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, basically him and his buddies, why can't I remember their names? Matt Serra and Dean, they used to go on trips, basically eating food, checking out the area, and then they'd go to a local fight promotion. And at the end of the promotion, if they saw something they'd like, they'd talk to that kid in the back. They obviously saw them watching on the side, so thought they were there to sign them or something. And then they'd give the kid a contract. They've done this to many of our favorite fighters. Marab was one of those guys. They were actually there to see Rufian Stotts And then Marab got the win, and they gave the contract to Marab. Similar situation. Randy Brown got a big win here. They gave the contract to Randy Brown. So Randy Brown is now a UFC fighter after winning on Dana White's Looking For a Fight. This is basically before Dana White's Contender Series. This is Contender Series basically spawned from Looking For a Fight. Okay. And then Randy Brown is now a UFC fighter, and he's been a UFC fighter for a hell of a long time, man. Hell of a long time, since 2016. The man has been in the UFC fighting for 9 years, clawing in the welterweight division. Absolutely clawing in the welterweight division, the second deepest division in the UFC. Clawing. Fought Matt Dwyer, Michael Graves, Brian Camozzi, Bilal Muhammad. Yeah, he fought Bilal in his first 5 fights in the UFC and lost by unanimous decision, but he fought Bilal. Yeah. Mickey Gall, Nico Price, Brian Barberena, Warley Alves, Vicente Luque, Alex Cowboy Oliveira, Jared Gooden, Kalen Chaos Williams, Francisco Trinaldo, Jack Della Maddalena, Wellington Turman, Muslim Salikov, Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos, Brian Battle, and Nicholas Dalby. That is a fucking hell of a list of fighters to have gone through. Are you serious? That was your first fights in the UFC? There's no wonder why you're still not at the top 15. You're fighting fucking killers every goddamn fight. If you fought Bilal in one of your first 5 fights in the UFC, you fought Warley Alves, a jiu-jitsu world champion. You fought Vicente Luque, a former tough finalist. You fought Jack Della Maddalena, who's fighting for the title in 2 weeks. Man, what a career you've had. What a career you've had. Now, let's quickly go over Michael Graves. Matt Dwyer was his first fight in the UFC on Fox, Johnson versus Bader. Rest in peace. January 30th of 2016 in Newark, New Jersey. Okay. Then he lost his second fight to Michael Graves by submission, rear naked choke on Teixeira versus Evans, April 16th of 2016. Defeats Eric Montano by submission, guillotine choke, UFC Fight Night Poirier versus Johnson, September 17th of 2016. Beats Brian Camozzi, PFL veteran, UFC veteran, TKO, knees and punches. Lewis versus Abdurakhimov, December 9th, 2016, in the second round in Albany, New York. Then he loses to Bilal Muhammad. Unanimous decision at UFC 208. UFC 208. That was 110 UFC events ago. Yes. Numbered events. Way more UFC events ago. But 110 numbered UFC events ago. That is when Randy Brown fought Bilal Muhammad. Yeah. Brooklyn, New York. He lost that fight. Mickey Gall beats him unanimous decision at UFC 217, 100 numbered events ago. Yeah. November 4th, 2017 in New York City. Then he loses to Nico Price, the punch from the bottom that we all remember. He was winning that fight. Tough L. That was probably the fight that was going to put him into the top 15. Maybe right at the fringe, start looking at some bigger fights around then, and just took an L in Boise, Idaho. July 14th, 2018, 6 days after his birthday. Tough one. Then he beats Brian Barberena by TKO, UFC Fight Night, Moicano versus Korean Zombie, June 22nd of 2019 in the third round, 2 minutes and 54 seconds in Greenville, South Carolina. Okay. Then defeats Warley Alves in Brazil by submission. A triangle choke. What a fucking win. UFC Fight Night, Blachowicz versus Jacare, November 16th, 2019 in Sao Paulo, Brazil, round 2. Then he loses to Vicente Luque. Another tough L, because he was really building up some steam to crack that top 15. Another theme that we're talking about with Randy Brown. Loses to Vicente Luque, big knee and punches at Brunson versus Shabazian, August 1st of 2020. Yep, pandemic time. It was a tough time. Everybody jostling for positions, just taking fights when they can because they didn't know when they were going to fight again. Las Vegas, Nevada. Then he goes on a nice streak again. 4-fight win streak. Submitting Alex Cowboy Oliveira at UFC 261, April 24th in 2021. Decisioning Jared Gooden on October 9th of 2021 at UFC Fight Night, Dern versus Rodriguez. This was a catch weight because Gooden missed weight. Kalen Chaos Williams beating him in a split decision, UFC 274, May 7th, 2022 in Phoenix, Arizona. And then beating Francisco Trinaldo in a unanimous decision at Dern versus Yan, October 1st, 2022 in Las Vegas. And then he runs into Jack Della Maddalena, who will be fighting another former opponent of his, Bilal Muhammad. Jack Della Maddalena wins the fight, submits him by rear naked choke at UFC 284, February 12th, 2023, in the very first round in Perth, Australia. Oof. Jack Della Maddalena cracks the top 15, and Randy Brown stays on the outside. But then he takes on Wellington Turman. He beats him in unanimous decision on UFC on ABC, Emmett versus Topuria, June 24th, 2023. Jacksonville, Florida. Then he knocks out Muslim Salikov, performance of the night bonus, at Dolidze versus Imavov with a punch, February 3rd of 2024. Then he beats Easy DS, Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos, by unanimous decision at UFC 302, June 1st of 2024 in Newark, New Jersey. And then loses a close split decision to Brian Battle that many people think he should have won. Tough fight. This was at UFC 310, December 7th of 2024. And that was his last fight before this. This was a catch weight of 175, by the way, because Battle had missed weight. Another tough L for Randy Brown. He loses